Welcome to Game Soup! Today we're playing We Happy Few. My name's Ed.
My name's Joe.
Let's talk about We Happy Few a little bit. Joe, did you watch E3?
Not very much.
No? So, I'm a big fan of E3, and this game was revealed at E3, this past E3, 2016. And it took a lot of people by surprise, based on the tone and the character of the game. If you've played Bioshock, this gives off very strong Bioshock vibes, some people say. And it just came out in early access. So I get the feeling that, it's going to be there for a while they continue to work on the game. But, you might not have had necessarily the correct vision of what the game actually is if you just saw the E3 trailer, which, by the way, is the prologue to the game, which is what we're seeing right here. The first 4 or 5 minutes or so are basically all that they showed at E3. So, this is what you were going to see. And this is just the prologue. Most of the game is currently not put in yet, not ready for play. But just the base gameplay is available after this prologue. So it's kind of weird. It is not what you'd expect. It is a survival roguelike, first-person survival roguelike. And let's also mention that. Oh, important things. This was by Compulsion Games, who I've never played Contrast, but they released a game called Contrast a couple years ago. Developed and published by them, came out on July 26th. So not too long after E3. And also, this copy was provided by the developers for us to review. So even though it's in early access, we still want to take a look at it just because it's sort of mind-blowing. I got real crazy Bioshock vibes at first, but it's definitely not that linear, heavily story-focused, adventure-style game that maybe you were expecting. So the basic premise is that everybody takes drugs called joy. This is set in a sort of alternate reality, 1964, where everybody takes a drug called joy. And when you take joy, everything is cool. And everything's colorful and cheery, and you don't mind your life. But you can see this character here, who we play as, Arthur Hastings. We are not on our joy.
No one's seen you.
It's really interesting how the colors sort of saturate and desaturate,
Why haven't I heard a single
depending on whether or not you've taken your medication,
Did you forget
Right.
So, and actually, there's a really cool section here where you can choose to take your joy right before this, and if you choose to take it, the game ends, and you win. Well, you lose. It shows the credits 2 minutes in. All you have to do is take your joy. But if you don't take your joy, which is what you're supposed to do, this is what happens instead. And so far, we don't really have a whole lot of, aside from what we see here in the prologue, we don't have a whole lot of backstory available to us. So I think there's a lot going on, and I want to know more about it. It's a really interestingly constructed world. It's like a little town, like a little British town, and you just have to survive. And you have all these meters. We'll get to that in a second. Oh, by the way, we're doing this in post, simply because I wanted to be able to focus on the gameplay while I was playing it, and now I want to focus on explaining it because it's kind of one of those complex games.
Right, yeah, so that's why we decided to do it in post.
Right. So, and this was interesting, this little sort of, not even a mini game, but you can choose to censor or accept things. It also gave me a kind of a weird 1984 vibe, too, Because of that, you're choosing what to censor.
Yeah, you're like the media.
Yeah, you're
trying to censor things.
Yeah, you're like the media, but this is your job. This is your menial day job. So you're choosing what to allow in the newspapers.
Wasn't Prudence supposed to be coming back?
And you're the aesthetic is really well fleshed out. You can see there in the newspaper, it just has that Bioshock feel. Just like that. Oh, this is a Utopia gone wrong style thing.
Yeah. Yeah, luckily, today we can get our news from the internet. So we can get our news Our news will back up our biases, no matter what they are. And we can just find our own little bubble of news.
And just read the ones that we like. What else? See if I can get some information on the...
And everyone else is an idiot, right?
Do you think we can?
I guess. So they say between 6 and 12 more months for early access.
Of course, he'd have to break the chip to get out. Well, that would break it for everybody.
That sounds about right. I mean, I think a lot of the core systems in the game are here. Are sort of solid. There's plenty of optimization to do. I actually had some slight troubles running it. I think just it's a combination of maybe just the gameplay, the engine itself is maybe not as optimized as it could be, and maybe my video card is a little bit older now. Could be anything. But there's still a little bit of occasional muddy textures, things like you might feel like, oh, maybe they're a placeholder until closer to release. But they're definitely serviceable. And you'll notice some of that when we see it here. But I think I got the frame rate pretty stable. We're recording at 1600 by 900 right now. It does go higher than that, but I just wanted to make sure that it was a resolution that we could, capture competently at. So now we're just trying to, we're going to meet up with the girl that we met earlier who told us to come to the meeting. It's like, oh yeah, this is really weird. There's like a live action. This guy, he's just talking. And I think this pans out a little bit. You can see this is actually just on a giant wall outside, like on a building.
Oh, I see.
Let me turn it up a little bit. It's hard to hear here. So he's talking about, oh, if you feel sick, do this, do that. Take joy. It all comes back to joy, you know? Which is real weird. And then this next scene, if you did watch it, E3 is probably the thing that stuck in your mind the most, because
it's never too late to have a happy past. That's not true at all.
There you are. You nearly missed the pinata. It's the most adorable.
Like they had these weird
Spanish
masks and everything. Well, not masks. I
Like
guess it's just face paint.
You smash it until all the candy comes out.
It's like so far, you're not really getting any survival FPS vibes from this, I would say, right?
Hit it.
You might be getting like an adventure style game.
Yeah.
Oh God! And you're like, what? So because you're off your joy, you can actually see what's happening, and nobody else can tell because they're all drugged up. And they think it's a piñata.
Take one of mine. Oh my lord. He's a downer. Call security. We've got a downer.
So if you can imagine, like pretty much just that, what we just saw, that was what they showed at E3. And that's a good way to pump people up for a game. Because, it establishes a world, it gives you, like, interesting goals and an interesting story to play out. So I think it works pretty well. But here's the real meat of the game in terms of, like, controls and first-person action and everything.
Is this where it always starts?
Well, this is just the prologue. You can choose to play this or not play this, because you don't actually have any control here. You had control in the fact that you could walk around the office a little bit, but
right.
This will always play out the same way. So the game actually starts in about 20 seconds. So it cuts off right there. And this is where the game actually starts. If you choose to just skip the prologue, you can start here. And one other thing to note, when you start a game, you can choose, at least right now, you can choose to do permadeath, just like a traditional roguelike, or roguelite might. And you can also, there's also an option called Second Wind, where if you're about to die, you can have a second chance, essentially. So if you can sort of mix and match those two. If you want to have permadeath on, but give yourself two chances, you can do that. Or you can just, like me, you can turn permadeath off, because I don't want to start over. And there's only one save slot, so it does have that roguelite kind of feel to it, where like your progress is your progress, and it's constantly saving.
Feels like I lost an argument with a train.
So this is where it actually starts. So you're in this safe house underground.
Get out of here.
And don't forget, there'll be cake
And so I'm not quite sure how you end up here. I was thinking that maybe the cops throw you out of wherever you were before, because as you'll see in a second, once we get outside, it's kind of like broken down. I think it's called Wellington Wells, the name of the city or the town that you're in. It's really kind of broken down and messed up. But I think you've been exiled or something similar. And we've got our crafting system here, because that's the thing. That's the thing to do, is crafting system. But I like this one. It's pretty simple. The interface is... I really like a good interface, and this has a pretty decent interface. And everything's automatic. As far as, like, you don't have to actually put different materials into a crafting slot. But here's your inventory, and it's got that Resident Evil 4 style of inventory where you can... or, like Diablo
Can you
style.
combine things?
You can do that in the crafting menu,
I guess that's
here,
crafting.
But here you just get to, like, you sort of get to play inventory Tetris, if you really want to do that.
Yeah.
I kind of like that. I don't mind it occasionally.
The thing with crafting is you get to give the player more collectibles, so
Right.
that you feel like you're making progress constantly. You're
Right.
just picking up little breadcrumbs that you turn into a loaf of bread eventually.
Yeah, and that is the thing. And the good part about that is that as soon as you pick up an item that is associated with a recipe, the recipe is, like you're right here, enhanced stock is now available. The recipes will always just automatically unlock. So you don't have to go searching for blueprints or recipes or anything like that. As soon as you pick up the item, you can start to craft it, provided that you have everything else.
Right.
So that's pretty snappy. as far as the interface for that goes.
It reminds me a little bit like The Last of Us, the crafting system in that. There's like 3 basic types of items you could get. You get sharp items, you could get like, I think it might have been 4, but yeah, it was just different categories, and you could just combine those into all different kinds of tools and weapons.
Yeah, this seems to have a ton of different things you can craft. There's already a lot of weapons. There was the enhanced rock, which I found to be pretty humorous.
Bananas. Yes.
So this is what the world really looks like?
Yeah. So the deal here is that you're trying to blend in because everyone else is, I guess, you know, on Joy or whatever the case may be. You're trying to blend in, and you have a blend in meter that's in the menu, like your status menu.
Oh, okay.
And you also have bars for your health, your food level, your thirst level,
Your stamina.
yeah,
At the bottom there, I see.
So it's got a couple of major survival elements to it in that sense. But the roguelite element here is that this world that we're running through right now is randomly generated each time you play. So as far as the architecture and like where the quests might be and where items are, all of that is just different every time you play.
Okay, so that just adds to the replay then.
Yeah, I think so.
So that's the main reason for it to be... Well, I guess we can't tell 100% for sure yet, but that seems to be one of the main reasons that this game is randomly generated, just so you can have more replay value to it.
Yeah, and there's all sorts of different quests, optional quests that you can do, so it's got that going for it too. It's not going to play out the same way every time. And in fact, you can see here as we're coming up to the Bridge of Joy on the left-hand side here, like this is open, but the last time I played and came up to this area, there was a guard here, and I couldn't get through, and I had to go somewhere else. So like just small things like that are going to basically force you, make it so you can't just memorize how to win and then just beeline. So it's actually going to be different every time. And like there's a section we'll come to pretty soon where if you want to cross a bridge, you have to provide some honey to the bridge keeper, like actual honey. And you might say, where do I find honey? And the answer is, I don't know.
Bees.
I have no idea. Yeah, maybe it's in a beehive or something, but I haven't found it. And I would assume that it's generated in a different part of the level every time.
Right.
And you can talk to these people. They don't really say much. They're better. You can just beat them up if you want, if nobody's watching. It's also got that sort of a stealth element too. Like if somebody sees you beating up on a guy, they're all going to gang up on you.
What's the incentive to beat up somebody besides the visceral anger?
Well, you can just loot their bodies, basically.
Yeah, I was going to ask. Do
Yeah.
they carry stuff on them?
Sometimes they'll have coins. Like you can see when that red icon in the top left corner pops
Yeah.
up, it means you're essentially being watched, or like you could be stumbled upon by somebody who's nearby. In that case, we got lucky. Yeah, that lady was just sitting on that bench. She didn't even care.
So you could be really mean to these people, like in Grand Theft or something.
Yeah, you could if you wanted to, as long as you get away with it, So here's like the outer edge of this little grid part of the map. Basically what the gameplay so far has consisted of is running around on these streets with all the buildings to the left. Yeah, here's the toll, the honey toll bridge.
Bring me a honeycomb, or wait forever.
So that guy's crazy. So we can't pay the toll just yet. But what I was saying was pretty much the gameplay so far has been you're running around on these streets, you pass by people, you loot post office boxes and telephone booths, and sometimes occasionally you can go into people's houses. And depending on what area of this zone that you're in, there may be more or fewer houses that you can actually enter. And I found like a really beat up part of the town where I was just going in every house and there were people sleeping on their beds and I would just steal their stuff.
Just lots of penguins.
As long as they don't catch you,
Everywhere.
Blasting zone. This was pretty interesting. This was a quest I had never seen before.
Are we mad? Or is it the world?
Look, can you help me out? Oh, I'm in a bit of a pickle.
You'll notice that right now all the male characters have the same face,
Oh yeah.
and all the female characters have the same face.
You wouldn't happen to have a bit of healing balm?
So it's just, it's a quest where he just wants to be healed. So you have to craft a healing balm.
Oh, that feels so much better. Had a bit of a disagreement with the missus. Look, I know I'm being rather a pain, but I'm still a tad, bleeding. You wouldn't happen to have a bandage you can spare?
You just gotta give him a bunch of bandages.
Yeah, he asks for a bandage and then one other thing.
Don't hold it against her. I can be
So other stuff worth mentioning here is there is a day-night system you can see in the top right corner.
not been able to clean the wound.
Okay.
Wouldn't happen to have a bit of...
So, and time goes by pretty quickly. I often enjoyed it a lot more when it was daytime because I could actually see things.
Yeah.
But I feel like that rhythm between day and night gives you a chance to, like, you can go back to the safe house and sleep, or you can go back to the safe house and drink from the water. There's like a water, like a pipe there.
Yeah.
So-
This looks a lot more like a longer format of roguelike game.
Yeah,
Sort
yeah.
of like Don't Starve more. This reminds me more of Don't Starve than anything or other roguelikes. Like before, the way I used to think of a roguelike game would be like Desktop Dungeons or Spelunky, where a run is usually no longer than maybe 30 minutes.
Right.
So it's kind of like playing the game is like eating cookies or popcorn. You just keep playing over and over again. And sometimes a run will be as short as a minute or two because you'll just die from some stupid way. But this, you're probably not going to die in the first few minutes. And from what it looks like, you're going to be playing for at least several in-game days.
Yeah, I think it's...
And Don't Starve, you're
Yeah.
playing for hours and hours in real life if you have a decent run. And you're playing for... If you get yourself set up, it's almost impossible to die in that. So you could play it for like thousands of in-game days.
Yeah, I think this is aiming to be more of a couple hours long session, or even more than that.
Yeah.
Just because of how complex it already is. You know, and this area is just huge, and there's more than just this area. And there are other characters that aren't in the game right now. Basically, by and large, the game's story is not in here at all, except for, the prologue as we saw.
I still hear him screaming, you know.
Oh, and they also mentioned that they're developing different game modes and difficulties. So I think there's going to be a lot of customization. But by and large, what you're seeing here is just the core gameplay. So I feel like they don't want to spoil it by providing you with the story to the game, which is something that doesn't need to be tested by players.
Yeah. Yeah, it's nice that lung icon only ever comes up when you're actually running and in danger of running out of it.
Yeah. I like the HUD. It's pretty minimalist,
Yeah, I was going to say that, like, they could have that lung meter be up all the time, but it's almost never going to be relevant.
Yeah. That would just be annoying, But I've seen games do that. This guy, there's nobody else watching. We can just take him down.
Get out!
He's being kind of a dick.
Yeah, he
Maybe we
doesn't
should take him down.
He doesn't like that we're here. I think I just looted his house and left.
Oh. That's the downside of recording in post, because I would be egging Ed on right now to beat that guy up.
Yeah, maybe I would have done it.
But now I'm just talking to the television. It's already
You're
happened.
yelling at the television like an old man.
Yeah.
So here I needed 2 rotten potatoes to make an antiseptic. If that makes sense. You need 2 rotten potatoes.
Yeah, it doesn't make a lot of
No.
sense.
But I got them. And I wanted to run back to that guy and heal him.
You can't make the crafting system too complex, where you actually need to get every single item that you would need to make everything you would ever need in a game.
Yeah. No, I like it. I like the system as it is now.
Yeah.
There's a lot to pick up, and you are actually limited by your inventory pretty heavily. Like you saw that some things... Oh yeah, this was... So I took a fall here, and this is... You'll see. Time is passing pretty quickly here. I guess this is my second wind, so to speak.
You just jumped off the roof of a building.
Yeah. Oh, I just
That's all it took.
suicided. And somebody left a bouquet of flowers there by my body. But I wasn't dead. But the downside here is that I'm basically about to die. I'm like on death's door. And the only way to survive is to craft a healing bomb or a first aid kit. And I don't have the materials for those. So pretty much what you're limited to here is just walking around in black and white and hoping that you come upon some sort of healing or find the right flowers to craft them. So this is the kind of thing you don't want to do, in a permadeath situation. You wouldn't want to jump off a roof.
No.
Oh, there we go. So this is what I was looking for, was the Rose of Gilead, or Gilead. and that's what lets you craft a healing balm, which I think I do pretty soon here.
Yeah. In Don't Starve, you have a way of getting like a similar mechanic to this. You have to find, there's like an altar, and once you activate it, when you die, you'll be respawned at the altar, but you don't have any of your equipment or any of your stuff, so
Right.
you have to prepare yourself to be attacked, because you can get attacked in that game, and
Right.
you have to like what you just did here. But usually it's a little bit longer in that, but you got to do a few things. You got to set yourself up really quickly, or you're just gonna die again.
Saved my life. Listen,
So we completed this quest by healing this guy 3 different ways.
we're all booby trapped, except for that one.
I like this. All these you might have noticed earlier, I opened up a chest here and then it just exploded.
Yeah.
So he tells us that one of these is not booby trapped. And it just happened to be this one. But then I heard that ticking, which I don't think you normally hear. And I was like, that's kind of suspicious. But then I was like, oh, I trust him because he told us and we saved his life and all, you know? So who knows?
I don't know if I would trust anybody in this world.
Yeah, I know. It's depressing and like kind of drab, you know, intentionally so. And like the colors are way more muted. And you can actually find joy, like out in the world. And if you take it, all the colors go back to their highly saturated values that you saw in the beginning of the game.
Okay.
So that's kind of nice. And it actually has an effect on your stats, you know, like you can... I forget exactly what it does, but maybe it disables your thirst and your hunger for a while or something like that, you know? So even just your state of mind can affect your various bars, you know? You're trying to survive by having your hunger sated and not being thirsty and not being tired. So I think there's a decent learning curve with it, just because of the... Like, you have all these systems, and you know that you need to do things. You need to drink, you need to eat, and you need to sleep. But you might not necessarily know the best way to do them at first. Like, there's lots of ways to sleep. You can sleep in that bed right there. You can go back to the safe house.
You definitely need to sleep in this game?
Yeah, eventually
It's not
you'll
just
see.
like a benefit? Okay.
Right, yeah. Yeah, so I mean, you have a lot of different ways to do the same thing. Like, even with the inventory system. Like, you know, you saw there's a couple different kinds of bandages. There's a million different types of food.
So they really take the survival part to a high level.
Yeah, yeah.
Kind of an extreme.
I like that. You can put your fists up if you hold... Oh, I died again here. This was bad. But since I don't have permadeath turned on, we'll just... we'll respawn. This is the kind of gameplay that I like, where you don't actually die forever. But again...
Especially when we're just getting oriented with the game.
Yeah. This was actually the most recent footage I took. We're gonna fade into some other footage here of a different randomly generated town here in a little bit. But yeah, there's a million different kinds of weapons. There's like that bottle of alcohol you can choose to drink from it.
Yeah, you're definitely right. This is not what I was expecting.
Yeah, I don't think it was,
but it's definitely interesting, and I can see a lot of potential with it, and it looks like fun so far.
I mean, just based on the reveal trailer, you know, it seems like they've done a lot to establish like this world, and I'm making a wild guess here that in the finished product it's going to be, well, it's definitely going to be more story driven, but I think it's going to be done pretty well. I think it's going to be executed well. I think this is going to make a lot more sense, you know, whereas here in early access you just kind of get spit out into this town here. I think it's going to make a lot more sense, and you're going to have a better sense of your bearings as far as what you want to do, because right now our only goal is to escape, you know, and you don't really have a good sense of how to do that. So I think that'll all come together. So I'm still about to die here. I think I actually do. I think I actually die here. Yeah, this is kind of crappy. When you're about to die, everything turns black and white and everything gets darker. So if you need to collect a flower or something, you can't see where the red flowers are, which are the ones that you need to collect.
Oh, yeah.
So you can't, like, if you're about to die and you really need to craft something, you might not be able to do it. And this is our death announcement, our obit.
You went on holiday.
I went on permanent holiday. You might say I went on a holiday 6 feet underground or something. You might say that. I don't know. I wouldn't say that, but you might.
Yeah, don't think any bad thoughts.
So we start back here again at the fountain.
Is this a different run?
No, this is the same run.
Okay, this is still the same one?
Because there's no permadeath, yeah.
Right.
So, man, we got lucky. We didn't die somehow. I don't know how.
You can steal mail.
Well, yeah, sometimes there's like money in the mail and stuff, you know.
Oh yeah.
So when you can fill their
You ever sent cash in the mail?
yeah, it's really dumb. Don't do it. It's a bad idea. Oh, here's a house. I think I just went in here and oh yeah, that's right. This is really entertaining. So normally people don't mind when you come in their house, but then I realized that I had this stick. You can just stab this guy, you know. He aggroed, so we got to defend ourselves here.
Work something out.
Stabbing him.
No.
Did you have the stick in your hand when you entered?
I had it. No, actually, what happened was I tripped. He had a like a trap set at the door.
Oh, I see.
He had a bunch of cans tied to rope, and when that fell, he was like, "Oh, there's a guy coming into my house." So, oh yeah, that is
You just stab a guy and then it's time to sit and read.
yeah, you can do that if you want. You really can. And you might have just seen when I picked up that book, it gave us a 2% bonus to something. There are passive boosts like that, like permanent passive benefits, depending on what you find. You know, so I've gotten a couple of those already. Oh, good, rotting meat. Oh, real good. And you can see there, you can actually craft different kinds of outfits if you want to blend in more, you know, so people aren't so suspicious of you, which is kind of an interesting concept. So you can see it has full marks for conformity.
Oh, I see.
So, and
There's a lot of systems in this.
yeah, but they're all fairly simple. I think they just work in a complex way. Like you can see our passive effects there, and you can see like our amount of joy was 0 because we have no joy. And the inventory is already full, so if we wanted to, we could go back to the safe house and deposit stuff. We have like a stash there where we can deposit stuff we don't need right now.
Oh, okay.
But you know, you do have to make the trek back there. So if you're sort of far away, you might not want to go back just yet. I think this is the guy we saved. And also, he runs really fast. All the NPCs just run the hell away. So I think that was all the major systems.
It's actually gotten worse.
Like, you know, and then there's stuff like this. Like, what is it? Oh, it's poisonous gas. And you can see our health in the top left corner there is actually decreasing at that point.
Oh, yeah.
So, but there's all kinds of stuff I haven't seen for, you know, I've put a fair amount of hours into the game, but I have yet to see a lot of this stuff. So whether it spawns every time or whether it's, you know, you might not see it at all, not quite sure. But there's definitely a lot of stuff, a lot of content. And like this quest system that we see here, you know, with the journal and everything, that was actually just introduced fairly recently in an update.
Great.
Oh, okay.
So they're constantly updating it. And so I'm hoping that in the future it'll run even better than it does now. I mean, it runs fine, as long as you're not trying to capture footage. But that could just be a side effect of our software and our computer setup and everything. Like there's already a ton of recipes. There's already a lot to it, you know. But none of it seems overbearing, at least to me. It doesn't seem too overwhelming. But that's, you know, to be fair, I have played it.
Yeah, you get time to get used to it after you play for a little bit. But yeah, it looks like there's a little bit of a learning curve, just not from like a Twitch perspective, a Twitch gaming perspective, but more from just a learning how the systems work kind of perspective. It doesn't look like it's too challenging on the reflexes so far, but it's more just learning how everything does and how everything works, and learning the hard way because you keep getting killed.
Yeah, pretty much. So this is a different collection of footage here. This is a different generated world.
Right.
And you just saw as I went in there. Well, first of all, my inventory is full, but also I went into the menu and you could see some of the graphical options that you have there. And normally it's set to ultra. I tweaked it down to high here to see what that would change. It's not super noticeable, and even on like low, it's just that, you know, characters' faces get a little bit more muddy. But it still looks decent. You know, it's got, I think the art style has a lot going for it, or just like the cartooniness of the characters and everything.
Yeah. It's not too exaggerated, but it's exaggerated enough that we're not anywhere near the uncanny valley here.
Yeah, which I like. I like that it has a unique defined style. And it's really weird.
As far as making realistic games with if you're going for photorealism,
What's it like across the water?
I think you need a huge team really to pull that kind of look off.
Yeah, that's a treadmill you don't want to be running on.
Yeah, you need like a huge budget and a big team.
It's easy. You take the goats across first.
You take the goats across first, which is a reference to that riddle. You know the riddle with the goats and the cabbage and the lion, or what is it, a tiger or something?
No.
Where like you're on one side of a river and you have to get your goat and your cabbage and your what eats goats? We'll just say a tiger and your tiger across. But the tiger will always eat the goat and the goat will always eat the cabbage. But you can only take two things across at a time, and it's this riddle where you have to figure out how you can take everything across without any of them getting eaten. It's this whole thing. Anyway, the answer is you take the goats across first. And all the dialogue is really weird and like non sequitur, you know? Like,
Yeah.
it's really strange. Whenever you talk to somebody, you just sort of say something. You just say anything. Like, oh, take the goats across first. Very strange. So, man, she was carrying a lot of branches. Did you see that?
Everybody's drugged out. So
Yeah. Well, I beat them up.
and their brains are rotted.
Yeah. I wouldn't be surprised if they were zombies. So this is that part of town where there were these three houses, and
The early bird gets jacked.
yeah, the goal was to open the chest in each house as just a sort of optional quest here. And you can imagine, look, there was a power cell there on the shelf, and that's actually one of the ways you can cross a bridge is to use a power cell, but they're all depleted.
And they're stealing their power
Took
cells.
out their clubs. Yeah, they didn't like that. So, like those power cells are going to be found at different places every time you play, which is kind of cool. It's pretty standard. Oh, look at his shoulders.
Yeah.
I didn't see that last time. It's pretty typical for a game with roguelike elements to it. But I've never seen any of that done in quite this way. Like if you were to describe this as a roguelike BioShock in terms of aesthetics and general gameplay. I mean, it doesn't have that aspect of combat to it, of course. But it's a strange combination. I've never seen.
It seems like you
something.
can get through a lot of this, or maybe even do a full run without fighting at all.
Oh,
if
yeah.
you really wanted to.
Yeah, I mean, most of the times where fights have started, it was because I chose to whack somebody.
Yeah, and the fighting doesn't look too difficult. Maybe I'm sure it probably gets more difficult later, but it seems like the fighting is more going to be based on your preparation is going to be more important than your actual reflex skills.
Right. And I mean, it's survival, so any chance you can take to avoid encounters in the first place is the better. It's the better option.
Yeah, I keep wanting to compare this game to Don't Starve, but I'm holding back because I don't want the whole episode to be just talking about the similarities between this and Don't Starve. But that's really the vibe I get from this. Is just like a 3D Don't Starve. And one thing in Don't Starve, you get kind of lonely because there are no other humans in the game. Everything else is an animal or a monster. And in this, there's so many humans and
too many. You might say.
It's scarier though.
Yeah, this is really scary. It is really creepy.
It's like I'd almost rather just be lost in the wilderness than with these people.
What, you think Don't Starve is scarier than this?
No, this is scarier.
Okay. I like this part a lot. Doesn't he look so menacing? But then, we're fine.
They all look pretty similar right now.
Yeah, they do. They also look kind of menacing. And then I take out my weapon and they take out their clubs. That guy just had a club on him.
He had a rock.
And our cricket bat broke here, which was really, really poor timing. So our only option here is... I still haven't gotten the feel of opening the inventory and quickly assigning a weapon to one of the quick slots down there. You can see I'm trying to do it right now. I'm like, oh god, how do I do it? What do I do? And even when you're in the menus, everything still keeps going. So
right.
You can't pause the game, which is another staple of games with roguelike elements or roguelite elements. It's just the sense of you can't pause, you can't stop the action, so you better be prepared. This is our second wind again. But somehow we survived. If only I had my enhanced rock, this never would have happened.
Yeah, all I can really do is compare it to Don't Starve. This has food and water, and you have to sleep. In Don't Starve, it's optional to sleep, which I found kind of weird. I think the food thing doesn't bother me too much, because in Don't Starve, you would think that you would have the first thing you would want to do is find water if you're in the wilderness, right? first thing you want to do is find clean drinking water. But in that you don't have to find it. It's kind of all just, I just consider it to be all consolidated just into food. So you only need to eat.
Yeah, that is weird. This game
it makes it simpler,
Yeah.
but it's a little bit less realistic.
Yeah.
And this is a little more realistic because you have to sleep, you have to find food, and you have to find water.
Yeah, like it has a lot more of those bars to keep filled, you know? Like,
Yeah.
now you can tell I'm hungry, I'm thirsty, I'm really tired, and I'm about to die. So this is not looking good.
Yeah, there really is a lot in. Well, Don't Starve also has an insanity meter on it as well,
As far
which
as I
I guess
know.
this might, because you have the joy thing, right? I guess
Yeah.
if you're on joy, you're insane.
Yeah. But that has its benefits as well.
Don't believe
Right.
So,
we've had
I think
pleasure.
we just looked at the menu. I think this is on low right now. Low settings.
Paris.
I did change it. I wanted to try to show each of those settings if I could. I mean, you can see like the ground texture here is a little muddy on low. Well, it's not a little muddy, it's quite muddy. So, and I think, again, those are things that will look different in the final release, I would hope. But this is the basic gameplay so far. Oh, and there's a lot of lore to it, too. There's a lot of notes you can pick up, like this, that just sort of fill in the gaps, you know?
Yeah.
Provide some
that's-
backstory.
It's not necessary to further the gameplay. It's probably
Right.
not going to give you. I'm guessing it's probably not going to give you that many hints, if any. But a lot of people that play games, especially a game like this, are going to be interested in the lore of it. Once you've gotten into the gameplay, a lot of people start to get into the backstory behind the world, and this definitely, I mean, it sets it up right away.
Yeah.
You're curious about the world basically immediately. They really do a good job of drawing you in from what I've seen.
You are dying of thirst! Yeah, I think that's always a good first step, when you can make a game that draws people in and gets them wanting more immediately, which this does in the first 3 minutes. You know, just having the aesthetic and just the world well established before the player even touches the controls. It's a good move. And of course there you can tell that later on we can maybe upgrade our inventory space.
And it wasn't too long either. The intro, a lot of
Yeah.
times intros to games they're long and uninteresting.
Right.
But if they're short, the ideal is probably short and interesting. Or, in my opinion, the ideal is to start with some kind of gameplay that shows what the game actually plays like, and then show a short amount of story. And then as you get deeper and deeper into the game, either have the story be optional, like for instance picking up those little cards that give you information about the lore, or
Right.
just increasing the amount of story and lore as the game goes. After you're interested in the game, in the gameplay itself, you're probably going to be more interested in the characters, so you can have longer cutscenes or longer periods of inaction for the player. Which you see that in a lot of RPGs and like JRPGs as well.
Yeah, not so much in roguelikes, but I wouldn't mind seeing that here, actually. If it was more story-focused. Not as story-focused as a JRPG, of course, but more so than a traditional roguelike.
Yeah, they definitely couldn't
roguelike.
have the amount of control over a linear game like a JRPG, but so it's hard. Yeah, it's harder. It's much harder to tell a story in a game that's randomly generated, obviously, because you can't. You have a lot less control over it.
So what else? Oh yeah, there was occasional pop-in. You might have just seen that there. Again, that's one of those things that, you know, in the final release you probably won't see. But yeah, just the basic. Oh yeah, here's that guard that we saw.
Oh, okay.
That we talked about last time, where instead of needing a power cell, there's a guard here, and we pretty much can't get through.
We'd like to know, if you are, who you appear to be. Can you tell me kindly who won Simon Says last Friday?
Right, it was Harry, wasn't it? Harry Jones.
Harry Jones, yeah, that's right.
Harriet.
That's the guy who won Simon Says.
Am I getting warmer? No.
Get yourself back to the garden, you downer bastard.
That's kind of a weird quest. You have to find out who won Simon Says to get past here, which is kind of weird. Like, I was trying to see if there was another way to brute force it.
There's also no children in this game either.
Right. At least not so far.
Yeah. Well, a lot of games do that though. Any game where you can beat people up.
Yeah, they don't have children.
They tend to either not put children in, or you can't beat up the children because.
Yeah, I think
I think it has to do with the ESRB thing, and also because most people don't want to beat up kids.
Right.
So-
You know, I think Skyrim did that where you couldn't beat up the children, and then somebody made a mod that let you do it. Something like that.
I'd probably err on the side of just not putting them in. It's less realistic, but
I don't know. Also, video game children tend to be pretty bratty and like annoying. For the most part. Whenever I think of a kid in a video game, it's always, I don't know. It's not a good memory. Like, what do I think of first of all? I think of those little punks from Toe Jam and Earl, Panic on Funkatron,
yeah.
little kids that run back and forth and like
they'll throw tomatoes at you.
Yeah, like come on, dudes.
It's not my fault. I'm being controlled by someone.
Yeah, you
I've
hurt
never
children.
even
Well, I guess you
met.
capture children in that game.
Yeah.
So
Well, you shove them into those little cans.
that's also like pre-ESRB, I think. It's a
Yeah,
really old
maybe.
game.
So we're doing okay here with our status. Like, I don't know what to craft because there's a lot of options and I don't know what I'm gonna need. So when I play these games, I always tend to go for just a lot of healing. And like I'll pick a weapon and stick with it for as long as I can.
It's true. You can't think of people's names when you're recording a show.
Why is that? What do
I
you mean?
heard this. I forget where, but I heard that people who make shows, it's hard to remember like your guest's name or and it's just hard to remember names in general. I can't remember the name of the girl from The Last of Us.
Ellen Page.
No.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, did she played the girl? right?
No. I don't
No.
think she actually did play her, but I think there was just like a strong likeness.
Oh yeah, that's right.
It was Joel and right?
yeah, Joel was the
I know
guy.
the guy's
was the
name.
main character. Yeah.
Ellen.
I guess they're both the main characters, but
What was the girl's name in The Last of Us? We're not going to look it up. Instead, post it in the comments.
I played through it and all the DLCs.
All the
I think
DLCs?
there might have only been one. I can't remember. It was like a couple years ago.
Let's just go in this house.
And another scary game.
Just,
Oh yeah, the reason I was thinking of it though was because of we were talking about kids in games.
Oh,
There's
yeah.
kids in that.
Kids that you have to kill.
No.
Oh. You know, Dead Space actually had babies that you had to kill. They were babies that had become mutated and
Oh yeah.
they're really scary, like
Well, then
tentacle.
those are in the monster category now.
Right, yeah, they're monsters, but they're still very clearly infants. So that was really weird. Kind of unsettling. What a great game, though. That's a fantastic series, actually. The original Dead Space.
I think having like babies as enemies is really off-putting.
Yeah, which is great for a survival horror game, you know?
Yeah.
And here, what does that for making me really unsettled is the faces, because they all have that white, like the pseudo mask, the face paint on.
Yeah.
That in itself is really, really unsettling.
Yeah, clowns.
Yeah, maybe that's why, because they're sort of
And
reminiscent.
exaggerated features are also off-putting, and this game has exaggerated features,
Yeah.
which is why clowns are considered to be off-putting because of the exaggerated human features.
Speaking of
There's
which,
been a rash of clown attacks recently.
No.
We've been following the news.
wait, really?
Yeah.
Are you lying or for serious?
No, I'm not lying. It's real. I think it was in South Carolina.
What?
There's been many clown sightings of clowns trying to lure children into the woods.
Clown sightings?
Yeah, and there was another one, I don't know, somewhere else where a clown chased a boy down the street with a knife
What?
and then escaped.
Escaped into the sewer?
I don't know.
Like
I don't know
Stephen-
where he escaped to, but they never caught him, as far as I know.
That's really weird.
Yeah.
I was going to say, maybe it's viral marketing for the new the remake of Stephen King's It, the film.
Oh, is that happening?
That's happening, yeah.
Oh, that's probably what it is.
You think?
Yeah, they just chased a boy down the street.
They just didn't tell the kid that it was viral marketing, right?
Yeah.
He thought it was real, which is...
It makes it perfectly acceptable if you chase a boy down the street as a clown with a knife. If you say, wait, it's for a movie. It's viral marketing.
It's okay, yeah. He'll understand, right?
It's not traumatized for life. Oh man, how rude can you be?
It's not a lovely day.
Yeah, there is something that just pisses people off about hurting kids. It pisses me off.
Yeah, it's, I don't know, instinctual or something. Nobody likes that. Because kids are innocent.
But people will spank their own kids. They'll hit them
Yeah.
if they're doing something that they don't want.
That's a whole other topic.
And it works for like a short period of time. It usually gets them to stop doing what they're doing. But in the long run, they're not going to come to you with their problems anymore because they might be worried that they're going to get hit. So
What's wrong with this scene? Did you see those guys?
there's other ways to to handle discipline with kids that don't involve hitting.
Go to
Jesus.
sleep. Go to sleep.
Wait, this is a kid.
No, it's not
It's
a kid.
not?
I don't think so.
Oh yeah, she just looked really skinny.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, no, I guess she's a grown adult. Never
And
mind.
those two guys in the other room were sleeping on thin air. Did you catch that? It was kind of weird.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I can't
back
even
there.
imagine being able to make a 3D game.
Yeah,
Like we've been working on 2D games Ed and I as amateur developers, but
those are already too complex for us, for our
Yeah.
tiny brains. This would be like a monumental. I wonder how big their team is. I actually did not look that up. But, you know, for a game this size, oh my god. Oh my god. There's so much to account for. All these systems, god. Which, I don't know, kind of explains why they're in early access. You need... Oh, this was cool. You can actually play this piano. You need, you know, thousands or tens of thousands of samples, you know, like a sample size of that many people to put a fine edge on the game, you know, put a fine polish on it. Oh god, I'm in the air!
yeah, that kind of stuff seems like it would be really hard to fix in 3 dimensions. Was this made in Unity, or do you know what it was?
I have no idea. You're asking the wrong dude. If you know what engine it was made in, leave it in the comments. I mean, or you could not. I don't care all that much. I don't know anything about engines anyway.
Well, we know a little bit. We know about Game Maker, Construct 2, Stencil, and
I don't know anything
Unity.
about
That's about
Unity.
it.
I don't know anything about Unity. I know that it exists and it's an engine.
Yeah,
What do you know beyond that?
that's pretty much all I know. Yeah, because
Oh.
I know that I would never be able to make. You'd have to learn how to do 3D modeling and stuff.
Yeah, no thanks.
I've done a tiny little bit of 3D modeling in the past, and I prefer making 2D art over 3D modeling.
I prefer playing video games,
Well,
and I can't do any of that
I
anyway.
always prefer play. It's
Yeah.
always more fun to play video games than to make video games, but I think it's more rewarding to make stuff in the end. Make something new and original than to just play video games and get good at video games. That's just me, I guess, but I think that's a lot of people.
So I think we're coming up to the end of our footage here.
Oh, we are.
So we'll just recap here, since we kind of got off on a tangent anyway. This is We Happy Few. It has been out in early access for about a month. You can grab it now. I think it's $29.99 on the Steam store.
Yeah, that sounds right.
There's a link in the description if you want to check it out. Once again, we got this copy provided to us from the devs. And we want to thank them for giving us the chance to look at the game and, you know, give you guys a preview for it as well. I'm looking forward to it. I'm probably going to play it when it's fully released. You know, I might take a little break from it just so I'm not burnt out on it or anything. But it looks like when it all comes together, it's going to be pretty nice. You know, any thoughts?
Yeah, I like it. I'm impressed. It's definitely not what I was expecting, but I'm surprised, but in a good way. So
Yeah.
I think that's good.
Yeah, I think it's going to lead to something good. So, yeah, thanks for watching Game Soup. We'll catch you guys next time.